Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Alhamdulillah, we are live again with our daily dars after Salatul Fajr during the month of Ramadan. Inshallah, I will be starting the dars shortly. So inshallah, I will be starting the dars now. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم وعلى عبده المسيح الموعود يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. Alhamdulillah, today is the third day of Ramadan, third day of fasting in the Philippines and in the most of the world as well. The topic that I have chosen for today's dars is what is called in Arabic Muhasabah, and it means self-accountability, or to look within yourself and try to find your shortcomings, your weaknesses, and try to improve upon them. Ramadan is the month which provides us with a great opportunity to reform ourselves, to become a better version of ourselves, to improve ourselves and move towards a better relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that is not possible unless we are aware of what parts of our life need work upon. And another reason this is very important, this topic is very important, is because in the first day of Ramadan, in my first dars, I mentioned some of the ahadith of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam related to the month of Ramadan, in which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam focused on the aspect of ihtisab or muhasabah or self-accountability. For example, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that man sama Ramadana imanan wa ihtisaban ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min zambihi wa man qama laylatal qadri imanan wa ihtisaban ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min zambihi. The Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that whoever fasts in the month of Ramadan in the condition of iman and ihtisab, meaning that the person has iman, he has faith, his belief in Allah and the other articles of faith is strong, wa ihtisaban, and that person is self-accountable. He does his own muhasabah, he or she, they do their own muhasabah, alhamdulillah, excuse me, and they try to improve upon themselves. Then Allah Ta'ala has given them the glad tidings, غُفِرَ لَهُ مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِنْ زَنْبِهِ, that Allah Ta'ala will forgive all of their previous sins. Similarly, whosoever prays Salat, whosoever stands up for Salat on the night of Laylatul Qadr, the same with the same conditions, Iman and Ihtisab, the same glad tidings are given that Allah Ta'ala will forgive all of their previous sins. So this aspect of ihtisab or muhasabah are very closely related to the month of Ramadan. Like I said, the month of Ramadan is a month of improvement. It is a month where we try to reform ourselves, we try to become a better version of ourselves. But we must understand what is the meaning of muhasabah and how can we do muhasabah. So I would like to focus today in my today's dars upon the meaning of the word muhasabah, self-accountability, as it has appeared in the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the sayings of the khulafa and the scholars of Islam, as well as the sayings of Hazrat Masih Maud wasalam and his khulafa. There is a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in which he has been reported to have said, "Hasibu anfusakum qabla an tuhasabu," that hold yourself accountable before the day comes when you will be held accountable. अपना मुहासबा करो, अपना हिसाब करो उस दिन से पहले जब तुम हिसाब लिए जाओगे. So it is saying that on the day of judgment, Allah will be the one who will hold us accountable. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said it is better for you if you yourself hold yourself accountable before the day of judgment, before the grievous day of punishment and reward. According to some, this is not a hadith but rather a saying of Sayyidina Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And there is a narration mentioned or related to Hazrat Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu where these almost exact words have been used. Hazrat Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu has been reported to have said, "Qala Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, hasibu anfusakum qabla an tuhasabu, wazinu anfusakum qabla an tuzanu, فَإِنَّهُ أَهْوَنُ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي الْحِسَابِ غَدًا أَن تُحَاسِبُوا أَنفُسَكُمُ الْيَوْمِ." That Hazrat Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu has been reported to have said that hold yourself accountable before the day when you will be held accountable by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and weigh your deeds. Try to do a weight, try to judge your amal, your good and bad actions before the day when it will be weighed for you. Hazrat Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu said that it will be easy for you tomorrow, meaning on the day of judgment, should you evaluate yourself today and be prepared for the great assembly on a day when all things will be revealed and nothing will be hidden. So Hazrat Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, almost same as the hadith has mentioned, that it is our responsibility, if we want Allah Ta'ala to deal with us in a light manner, if we want to have a light examination, not so strict examination on the day of judgment, then it becomes our responsibility to judge ourselves, to weigh our actions ourselves, to evaluate ourselves and to hold ourselves accountable. The verse of the Holy Quran which I had recited in the very beginning has the same thing mentioned in that, where Allah Ta'ala says, "O ye who believe, fear Allah and let every soul look to what it sends for the tomorrow. وَلْتَنْزُرْ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ لِغَدٍ." So the word وَلْتَنْزُرْ is a reminder about self-accountability, that a person must always keep an eye what he is collecting, what he is sending forward for his day of judgment, whether he is making a collection of good deeds to be presented in front of Allah, or whether he is making a collection of sins, etc. Now we come towards the word ihtisab, which is used in the hadith that man sama Ramadana imanan wa ihtisaban ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min zambihi, that whosoever fasts in the month of Ramadan with iman and ihtisab, all of his previous sins will be forgiven. In the Arabic dictionary Lisan al-Arab, it is mentioned that ihtisab means the counting of merits and demerits of a person. Meaning ihtisab refers to the act of counting your good qualities and also making a list or keeping a list of your demerits, of your bad qualities, of your weaknesses, etc. So ihtisab refers to the fact of counting or to make a list of your good and bad deeds. It comes from the word hisab, which is also the word used for math or doing some kind of arithmetic, etc., keeping a record, accounting. So ihtisab means to keep an account of your actions. Al-Mawardi, one of the scholars of Islam, he has written the self-accountability is to visit one's own day and night activities, meaning to go through your daily activities and to decide that I will continue my good actions and leave my bad actions in future, repenting about such actions. Meaning ihtisab or muhasabah refers not only to the fact that you keep an eye and keep an account of your good actions and your bad actions, but also the resolve that I will inshallah continue and improve upon my good qualities and try to remove all of my bad habits. Hazrat Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayh, one of the very famous scholars, I think everyone has heard the name of Hazrat Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayh, he writes that ihtisab or muhasabah is to review one's previous activities as a businessman reviews his financial statements after 1 year and elicits the factors which brought benefit and those which caused loss. So the example that is given is the example of a businessman. That a good businessman has a log, has an account of all of his business dealings, and then every year he does not the accounting but an audit. So muhasabah, according to Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayh, is not the act of accounting. Accounting is just keeping a log, keeping a list of this is my good qualities, this is my bad qualities. But according to Hazrat Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayh, muhasabah is the act of also auditing that accounts. That what caused me loss and what gave me benefit, just how a businessman does. And after doing so, Hazrat Imam Ghazali writes, in the same way, a person, after reviewing his activities, decides to relinquish some bad habits and to continue with others which could draw him nearer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and which could be instrumental in winning the pleasure of Allah. So muhasabah is again that we keep a list and we promise or we make a resolve to continue our good action and let go of our bad action. Then Hazrat Imam Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, another very famous scholar considered to be mujaddid of one of the centuries, he writes, oneself or nafs is like a dishonest and a very cunning partner or a businessman. That our nafs amara, is like a cunning partner in a business, who is also in control of all of the assets of the business. If you have a business partner who you do not trust, and he also has equal ownership or equal control over the assets of your business, you will be very mindful of that person. So Imam Ibn al-Qayyim rahmatullah alayhi writes, and now this is the duty of a mu'min, a believer, to watch over his nafs and not to allow him to go astray by committing any disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's commandment. So just how if you have a partner who you don't trust and who has control over all of your business dealings, you're always mindful of that person. Same way your nafs is the same. Your business is to become close to Allah. Your business is to attain the pleasure of Allah. Your business is to do such actions in this world which will lead you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And your nafs is that business partner which, if it is nafs amara, it can take you towards loss, and if you can convince it, if you can control it, it can guide you and take you to towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His pleasure. So you always have to keep an eye on your nafs, and that is what is meant by muhasabah, ihtisab or self-accountability. Hazrat Hasan al-Basri rahmatullah alayh, a very famous saint, he says a believer polices himself. He assesses and adjusts for the sake of Allah. The final judgment, the judgment on the day of resurrection, may end up mild for some people because they were quick to judge themselves in this life. Or it can be very hard for some people because they did not judge themselves in this life. So our judging ourselves in this life can be the difference between an easy day of judgment for us, day of resurrection for us, or a very difficult or hard one. Now I will share with you some quotations of Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam and the Khulafa about the act of muhasabah or self-accountability. Hazrat Masih Maud, Imam Mahdi alayhi salatu wasalam, has written that Allah the Almighty makes a diary of man's actions Allah has a diary, has a record of all the actions of man. Thus, it is also necessary for man to prepare a diary of his own situation and consider how far he has come in goodness. Man's today and tomorrow should not be equal. As the Masih Maud is right, a person's today and tomorrow should not be the same. Whomsoever's today and tomorrow in terms of progress in goodness stays the same, it is as if he is in a great loss. If we are not improving daily in our spirituality, in our relationship with Allah, then we cannot consider ourselves to be safe, to be staying in the same place, but rather we are in a great loss. Huzur says, so at all instances, feel what is in your heart, and as one who consumes betel quid, meaning pan, that's some kind of thing that people eat, and it has some good things in it and bad things in it. So the bad thing they keep on spitting out. So similar to mama in in the Philippines, doesn't necessarily have to have tobacco in it. In Indian culture, there is something that you put in your mouth. It has some nuts in it, and some of them are of good quality, some are bad. So you throw them out. So Hazur says, just how a person who is chewing that betel quid, he is continuously with his tongue trying to see what is good, and he keeps it, and whatever is bad he spits it out. In the same manner, Hazur says, keep the hidden thoughts and secret habits of your heart and the hidden emotions and the hidden realms before your eyes, and cut off those thoughts and habits which you find wasteful. Otherwise, it will be that they will defile your whole heart and you yourself will be cut down. So Hazur has, as the Masih Maud and other places, has given the example that a gardener, he regularly prunes a tree. He goes and looks for those branches which have some kind of disease, and he will cut off those branches, because if he does not do that, the entire tree will become diseased. So in the same manner, muhasabah means that we find those qualities within ourselves which are detrimental, which are harmful for our future, and then we let go of those qualities, because if we do not do that, then the disease will spread in the entire body. Hazrat Khalifatul Masih al-Awwal Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu says that I urge you to keep an eye on the divine limits, meaning what are the commandments of Allah, what to do and what not to do, and keep in mind at all times and to call into account your own soul regarding what you have prepared for tomorrow. Then Sayyidina Muslih Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu writes that a believer should always be concentrated towards Allah and should try to repel bad deeds. One should always do self-accountability. One should always do his or her own muhasabah, and check and ask himself or herself the question that, does my soul have any weaknesses? One should analyze those weaknesses. Hazur says the door of spirituality opens for one who does this regularly, and as for those who do not, the path of spirituality closes for them and the person becomes misguided. So it is very important that we continuously hold ourselves, our nafs, accountable. Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Salis Rahmatullah Alayh said that, I will summarize this, that if anyone considers himself to be perfect and does not regularly try to find his or her weaknesses and improve upon them, then that person, he closes the door of progress upon him or herself. So it is very important that we do not consider ourselves to be perfect. We must have humility within ourselves, that we are humans, 100% we have many weaknesses, and then we should try to improve upon those weaknesses. There is some quotation of Khalifatul Masih Rabi and Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Khamis as well. I will come back to these, but first I would mention to you that in the book Irfan-e-Ilahi, Hazrat Muslih Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu has written a whole chapter, you can say, on the topic of muhasabah or self-accountability. And in that chapter, Hazrat Muslih Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu explained that many people do not truly understand how to do muhasabah. We have already talked about what is muhasabah, what is the importance of muhasabah, self-accountability. Now the question is, how do we do our how do we hold ourselves self-accountable? So Hazrat Muslim Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala who explained, Muhasabah or self-accountability is of two types. One is an overall or collective accountability, and the other is accountability of every single action. So let's go back to our example about a businessman. When he audits his business, there is an audit of the overall condition of the business, how the business is going. And sometimes he will audit a single receipt, that there is a charge of 5,000 peso on our business ledger for this thing. Is this expense really a genuine expense, or it has been fraudulently entered there? The businessman will do this accountability. So similarly, a person who is doing his own muhasabah or self-accountability also has to do both of these things. He has to hold him or herself overall accountable, and then he also has to check every single one of his action or her action individually. So about the overall accountability, Hazrat Muslim Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala who says that a person should keep a record, a person should keep a diary, wherein he should separate his amal, his action, according to different category. And he has given some examples of how we can separate our amal. One simple example is Haququllah and Haququl Ibad. That in terms of actions, these are the rights of Allah and these are the rights of mankind. Am I doing these or not? You can make a list and then you can go through that list and see what you are doing wrong. Another thing which has been mentioned by Hazrat Muslim Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu, which is very important, especially in the month of Ramadan, when we try to read the entire full reading of the Quran from beginning till the end. So Huzur says, Hazrat Muslim Maud Khalifatul Masih Sani Radiyallahu Ta'ala anhu writes that when we are reading the Holy Quran, we should not just quickly read through the Quran and skip through the pages. Rather, whenever we come across any awamir or nawahi, wherever Allah Ta'ala has mentioned any do's and don'ts, at each of them we should stop and hold ourselves accountable. If we read the Holy Quran with that mentality, that we read a verse and see that in there has Allah Ta'ala asked me to do something? If yes, am I doing that thing or not? And secondly, has Allah Ta'ala stopped me from doing something? Am I stopping from those things or not? So that is how to hold yourself accountable in a collective manner. On an individual manner, Hazrat Muslim Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala who writes, that when we do any action, we should ask ourselves question before we start an action, while we are doing an action, and after we finish an action. So before we start any action, we should ask ourselves that why am I doing it? Number one, and number two, for whom am I doing it? For example, take the example of salat. Am I praying salat? Why am I doing it? What is the purpose of my salat? Or Hazur has given the example of stealing money. If a person is going to steal, he should ask himself, why am I doing that? Because I need money. Has Allah Ta'ala provided me any correct ways of earning money? If yes, why am I not utilizing that? So why am I doing something? And secondly, before you start an action, you should ask yourself, for whom am I doing it? What is my who am I doing this for? So for example, Hazur gives the example of salat. Am I doing it for Allah? Am I doing it for myself? Or am I doing it to show off to people? So if you're doing it to show off to people, you lose your benefit of salat. Allah Ta'ala says, فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ يُرَاءُونَ. That those who show off, their salat become a curse upon them. So before we start any action, we should ask ourselves, why am I doing it? And for whom am I doing it? Then during the action, we should ask ourselves, how am I doing it? What are the means I'm using to do that thing? So let's continue with the example of salat. Okay, I'm offering this salat so I can develop a relationship with Allah. And I'm doing it for myself and because Allah has commanded me. Now how am I doing it? Am I doing it in the right manner or wrong? Sometimes you may be doing the right thing, but you may be doing it in the wrong manner. So that is very important. That the action we are doing, are we using the correct means and methods for that purpose? Allah Ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, do not enter your homes from the back. meaning do not jump over your back walls to enter the house, rather use the front door. So in both cases, a person is able to enter the house and fulfill the purpose. But one is the right way and the other is the wrong way. So just because something is being done and done for the right reason is not enough. It is also very important that we do it in the right manner also. So during the action, we should ask ourselves, how am I doing this action? Am I using the right means or not? And third, after we finish an action, we should ask ourselves that what was the impact of this action upon me? A lot of time people do good things and they, in their own mind, they do it in the right manner as well. But it is not the right manner, or they are not doing it for right reasons. But our self, our nafs, is hiding the correct reason from ourselves. But one way you can tell whether your action was accepted or not, was in the right manner or not, is to see the impact of that action in your heart. If you go to offer salat, and it does not remove your bad actions, inna salata tanha anil munkari wal fahsha, the salat stops you from bad things. If it is not doing that, the impact of salat, the impact of fasting is not good upon your soul, meaning that you did something wrong. So, every action we should see, before we start the action, why am I doing it? And for whom am I doing it? Then during the action, we should ask, how am I doing it? Am I using the right means or not? And lastly, we should analyze what was the impact of that action on our soul. I will finish with a quick quotation from Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Rabi and Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Khamis, ayyadahullah ta'ala bin Nasir Aziz. Hazur the Khalifatul Masih Rabi rahmatullah alayh, mentioning the condition of ihtisab in Ramadan, he said that there is a simple aspect, there is a simple way where we can see whether we are doing the ihtisab of our actions are good or not. He says, and that simple thing is that we should see that all our actions making our heart become more pure and clean, and are we starting to hate sins or not? If in our heart there is a disgust towards sin, there is a hatred towards sinful life, that means we're moving towards good things. But if we do not have that hatred, but rather we find it difficult to do good things, that tells us we are not moving in the right direction. So as Khalifatul Masih Rabi rahmatullah alayh has given us a general overall way to hold ourselves accountable. Is there hatred in my heart for sin, or is there love in my heart for sin? And that can tell us whether we are moving in the right direction or not. So I finish with a quotation of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih al-Khamis, ayyadahullah ta'ala bin Nasir Aziz. He says, Allah has made it apparent that fasting must be kept with true belief and with true self-accountability during the days and nights of Ramadan. Only then can someone attain the level and status where all previous sins are forgiven. In Ramadan, one increases in faith and self-accountability. One looks at his faults and his deeds and focuses on the rights of mankind and the rights of Allah. One tries to do such actions which bring him closer to the pleasure of Allah. Thus, this is the purpose which Allah has mentioned in the Holy Quran regarding Ramadan, and what can be attained from Ramadan. The Holy Prophet ﷺ has shown us the true purpose of life in 2 sentences. Just because we merely say that we are keeping a fast with true belief, all of our sins will not be forgiven. Rather, the Holy Prophet ﷺ has also mentioned that along with Iman, there should also be self-accountability, and we should be analyzing our soul. And the meaning of this is that one should check his or her faith and see whether he is becoming closer to Allah or not. Recently, in one of the meetings with the Jamia Ahmadiyya Ghana, Huzur mentioned that a person should keep a very detailed log of their daily activity. Every single minute of your day should be accountable. You should do that for 1 week or so. And then you should see, where am I wasting time? What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? So during this month of Ramadan, we also have to do this. We have to make a detailed list of our daily activity. We have to make a list of our actions. When we read the Quran, we should see whether we have this quality or not. And then always continuously analyze ourselves. The harder we are upon ourselves, the more strict we are in our own scrutiny, the easier it will be on the Day of Judgment. And if we do that, the promise of Allah is already there, that غُفِرَ لَهُ مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِنْ ذَنْبِهِ, that all of their previous sins will be forgiven. So may Allah Ta'ala enable me and enable all of us to self-analyze ourselves, hold ourselves accountable, and try to improve ourselves during this month of Ramadan. May Allah Ta'ala enable me and enable all of us to do so. Ameen. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad wa barik wa sallim innaka hamidun majid. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.